What's going on YouTube? It's Snowflarky's Emos, and I'm here today with my Phantasm Spiral Master Duel deck profile. Phantasm Spiral is probably my favorite deck to try and play in a more competitive environment of all time. I really like normal monsters, I really like skill drain, and I really like what Phantasm Spiral cards did for this kind of play style. Gives it a fun, little control aspect and some great synergies that allow you to take advantage of some really powerful continuous trap cards. Pretty cool deck for playing on Master Duel Ladder. It was pretty cheap and easy to make, and especially since I'm playing lots of trap card decks, a lot of these cards get played in a lot of decks. So for not too many extra resources, I was able to put together kind of my favorite deck to play. And with that, let's get into the card by card. First, we're going to start with our monsters. Now, what's interesting about this deck is you'll note that I'm not just playing the triple Megalo Smasher. That's because good old Fossil Dig is an ultra rare, and I didn't want to spend the resources on that. And I decided there was another avenue I could take this deck that I kind of really liked. So I'm playing 5 different monsters at one of. I'm playing a 7-colored fish. What's important about all these monsters, of course, is that they are water, which is important. You need water-type monsters for this deck and their synergies. But what's most important is all their types are different, which is a big deal because we're going to be playing There Can Only Be One. And so just having all these monsters of different types means that I can have them all in the field at the same time if I see them. So 7-colored fish, 1800 attack monster. That is a fish monster. Pretty cool. And of course, very classic Yu-Gi-Oh card. So it's fun to be able to play it. Next, a giant red sea snake, an aqua type monster, 1800 attack. Very cool. Next, Gaga Gigo, the second best monster because it's got 1850 attack, and it is a reptile. So again, the different types come into play. Next, the meme itself, Sea Serpent, Warrior of Darkness, 1800 attack, a Sea Serpent monster. And this is a pretty cool card if you don't know. Sea Serpent, Warrior of Darkness is a warrior who defends the world of the Sea of Darkness. He prides himself on his fighting prowess both on the ground and, of course, in the water. Very cool card to have in the deck. And lastly, the real good monster in this deck, a Megalo Smasher X. It is a dinosaur, 2000 attack, but also water, and that means that all 5 of these monsters are a different type so that none of them clash with each other, for there can be only one. Now this still probably isn't optimal even without Fossil Dig. I would say you should probably play a copy, like 2 copies of Megalo Smasher, just because the odds of the 2 ones you find being both the Megalo Smashers isn't that high, but you definitely want to see Megalo Smasher because it has more attack. It's got that 2000 attack slot that you want to end the game. But, I'm having perfectly enough success with this version, and I get to show off some other cool, sick looking vanilla water monsters. And that's it for our monsters. Next, we're looking into our spell cards, a very trap card heavy deck, so we're taking advantage of the biggest buff that Master Duel gives, 3 Card of Demise. We draw until we have 3 cards in our hand. Also for the rest of this turn, our opponent takes no damage. During the end phase, we send them all to the graveyard, which isn't a big deal because we're going to be getting lots of spell and trap cards that we can just set instead of setting to the graveyard. And you cannot special summon during the turn you activate this card, which is fine. You normally don't special summon during your turn. You do it on your opponent's turn. So, no big deal. Next, 3 copies of Pot of Duality. We're already not special summoning on our turn, so gonna get this little good consistency tool. Excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 of them to your hand, also shuffle the rest back into your deck. You can only activate 1 Pot of Duality per turn. Pretty cool. Use that to get a key trap card you need. Use it to get a monster if you need a monster on board. Use it to get your field spell if you don't have it yet. Whatever card you're looking for, Duality gives you a chance to select that card if it's one of your next 3 cards and just add it to your hand. Very awesome. Next, we're playing 2 Pot of Extravagance. I'm only playing 2 instead of 3, just because with 3 Demise and 3 Extravagance, I was finding too many times where I was extravagancing or demising into the other card, and I can't play both during the same turn. So I just decided to cut Pot of Extravagance down to 2, because Demise is the better card. Pot of Extravagance, of course, at the start of your main phase, banish 3 to 6 random face-down cards from your extra deck, and draw 1 card for every 3 cards banished. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot draw any cards by card effects. So, pretty cool. draws us cards, and we don't go use our extra deck anyway, so we might as well. Next, we're playing a copy of Fury of Cariushin. This one adds a torrential tribute from your deck to your hand. Very powerful trap card that's only at rare, so it's a must-have for a Master Duel player. If a water monster you control will be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So this is nice. It gets us torrential tribute, which is a very powerful card in this deck, because with Fury of the Cariushin in the graveyard, we can turn it into a one-sided board wipe. But also, even without Fury of the Cariushin, torrential tribute is very powerful with C Stealth Attack. More on that in a bit. And last for our spells, I am playing 3 copies of Pacifist, the Phantasm City. This is the spell card that is the lifeblood of this deck. It's always treated as Umi. And of course, you cannot normal or special summon effect monsters the turn you activate either of this card's effect. Once per turn, if you normal summon or special summon exactly one normal monster or no other monsters, you can add a Phantasm Spiral card from your deck to your hand. If your opponent activates a card or effect and you control no tokens, you can special summon a Phantasm Spiral token, which is a worm type monster, level 8, 2000 attack, 2000 defense. And what's nice is worm is none of the types that our monsters are, so you can have that and there can only be one at the same time. So you definitely want this card, get you a token, get you more bodies on the field, and every time you summon, you're getting a Phantasm Spiral card to your hand that generates your card advantage. That's the kind of thing we want to see. Next, let's talk about trap cards. I'm playing 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. When a monster is summoned, destroy all monsters on the field. Very powerful trap card you can use to disrupt an opponent's turn once they've summoned monsters before they go into the extra deck. You can wipe the board, make it more of a pain for them to access their extra deck, and keep our monsters safe generally, either with Fury of the Cariushin or C Stealth Attack to tap them out for the turn and dodge the destruction effect. Next, we're playing 3 copies of Phantasm Spiral Battle. This is one of the Phantasm Spiral cards we'll get off of our Pacifist, the Phantasm City search. It says, if all monsters you control are normal monsters, minimum 1, target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. If Umi is on the field, which is what Pacifist, the Phantasm City is, you can activate this card from your hand. So that's pretty cool. If you add it to your hand on your opponent's turn, you can play it. You don't have to miss out because you didn't set it. And it has a secondary effect, but we're not playing the Phantasm Spiral equipped cards, so that does not matter. We're also playing 1 copy of Phantasm Spiral Power. If all monsters you control are normal monsters, target an effect monster your opponent controls until the end of this turn. It loses 1000 attack and defense. Also, it has its effects negated. If Umi is on the field, you can activate this card from your hand, and then has another effect with the equipped cards, but we are not playing them. Next, 2 copies of Heavy Storm Duster. Target up to 2 spell and trap cards on the field and destroy them. This card's pretty good in Master Duel. The best of 1 format has a lot more trap card decks running around. It has Eldritch running around, and being able to destroy 2 spell and trap cards for 1 card, gain card advantage, is pretty sweet. Next, we're playing 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. When a monster would be summoned or a spell or trap card is activated, pay off your life points, negate the summon or activation. If you do, destroy that card. Stun decks, we set up floodgates, things that are basically winning the game for us, and if our opponent draws out, so we want to have the no button on that out, and that is what Solemn Judgment is. Another one that normal monsters have access to is Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi. When a spell, trap card, or monster effect is activated while you control a face-up non-effect monster, that includes any of your normal monsters or your token from Pacifist, you can negate the activation. Pretty cool. And then, of course, if this set card you control is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon a non-effect monster from your extra deck, which there's lots of targets that are easily accessible in the rare slot that work for this. So that's a pretty cool secondary effect to have. Next up, 3 copies of Skill Drain, the game winner itself. Activate this card by paying 1000 life points. Negate the effects of all face-up monsters while they are face-up on the field. Normal monsters don't have effects. Your token doesn't have an effect. You don't have effects, so you don't care about your effects getting negated at all, but your opponent will, and can oftentimes win the game. And another reason that makes Skill Drain so great is we are playing 3 copies of C Stealth Attack. This is a great, fantastic card for this deck. When this card's activated, you can activate an Umi from your hand or graveyard. So if Pacifist has been destroyed and it's in your graveyard, C Stealth can get it back, and we want Pacifist to be online at all times. And then while Umi's on the field, it gains these effects. Once per turn, you can banish a water monster you control until the end phase. This turn, face-up spell and trap cards cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effect, even if this card leaves the field. So now suddenly your Skill Drain, your Pacifist, your there can be only 1. whatever floodgates you decide to play, are destruction proof just by using this effect, which means they'll need to be playing something like Cosmic Cyclone to remove them, and that adds so much power to these cards because they're game winning, and if you have a way to dodge destruction, which may be the only outs your opponent has to it, then they can't really do much of anything. Then at the start of the damage step, if your water monster, whose original level is 5 or higher, battles an opponent's monster, destroy that monster. Your token that you will summon off pacifist is level 8, so it can use that effect, and it can, destroy monsters by card effect, which means you can destroy things with larger attack bodies or defense bodies than 2,000, and, remove them from the field that way. And last, I'm playing 2 copies of There Can Be Only One, considering bumping this up to 3, just because it's another incredibly powerful trap card that is often the win condition of this deck. Each player can only control 1 monster of each type. If a player controls 2 or more monsters of the same type, they must send some of them to the graveyard so that they control no more than 1 monster of that type. So the fact that all our water monsters are different types means that none of our monsters are restricted by there can only be one, but our opponents severely can be. Lots of popular decks can't do much under this. Drytron doesn't like it. Even though Tri-Brigade technically has a couple different types, they usually are summoning a bunch of, a lot of the same. Just makes it hard for a lot of decks to play. And of course, with Sea Stealth Attack, this trap card becomes destruction proof, which is sweet. And that is the makeup of the main deck. Next, we're going to talk about the extra deck just a little bit. Not too much to note here. Most of it is just extravagance fodder. But some things to note. I'm playing 3 copies of Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. This is the largest monster we can summon off of Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi's effect. It's 4,500 tech and a non-effect monster, which is pretty cool. Now, do note that when you have a non-effect monster like Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon on the field, you cannot use Phantasm Spiral Battle because even though it's non-effect, it's not a normal monster. So you do have to keep that in mind. Maybe wait till all these are burned before you summon it, or, just go for something else if you decide to. If you have Phantasm Spiral Battles you want to use, our next best target is probably Gigo the Risen. It's a 2950, which is significantly less, but the benefit of this is that it's a water monster, which means you can tag it out with Sea Stealth Attack on turns where you want to be using Phantasm Spiral trap cards. So definitely a synergy. Probably make a third one of this real quick. It is only a rare, but it's cool. And of course, it's an awesome Gigo monster, which is just a nice bonus. Next up, I am playing 3 copies of Berserker the Tenyi. It's just a 3,000 non-effect monster that we can summon off of Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi. That's pretty easy to get. For that reason, we're playing a Gaia Saber, which is a 2,600 one. Non-effect. That's perfectly fine. Next up, some other targets I have in here. I have 2 copies of Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon, 3 copies of White Aura Whale. These are just things that I could summon off of, say, a Waking the Dragon if I decided I wanted to play Waking the Dragon in this deck. So I just have them in here as placeholders. Since I'm not playing Waking the Dragon at the moment, I would probably replace them with, say, let's grab copies of Master of Oz, which is a 4,200 attack monster that is a non-effect monster we can summon off of Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi, and probably Meteor Bee Dragon is the next one, but I think that's a super rare, so I don't think I'd necessarily make that. You can get the Invoked guy that is 3,000 attack. We'll just do that for the time being. And last, I have a Kachi Kochi Dragon, because I could technically make it. All the normal monsters are level 4, so you could make rank 4s. But, usually the extra deck here, just extravagance fodder and non-effect monsters that you want to be summoning off of Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi, should it be popped, unless you want to play Waking the Dragon and Waking the Dragon targets instead. And that's it for the extra deck. So here's a replay of Phantasm Spiral in action. Just to note, this is me playing it during the XZ Festival, so there is a subtle difference in that I couldn't play Pot of Extravagance, so I switched it out for, I believe, a copy of Champion's Vigilance and just something else to fill the spot for those 2 Extravagance slots. But with anything, we're getting the duel underway. Not the greatest hand, but I do have Pacifist, which is pretty nice. I use Cariushin to get Torrential Tribute, play my Pacifist so that I have it online, set in my full back row, and passing my turn. My opponent will then play their card, draw Terraforming. They are playing Madolche, a deck that has been incredibly popular for the Xyz event. Because they activated a card while I control a token, I'm going to get my Phantasm Spiral token and use that to add power. I add power because I don't have skill drain, so I want to negate a key effect. They play their Madolche field spell and their Madolche ticket. I'm going to use this chance to use my Heavy Storm Duster, pop 2 cards for 1, get a little card advantage gain there. Very nice. Denied. They are going to play Madolche Messengelato. I'm just going to pop that real quick and have them shuffle it to the deck. Then they're going to play Madolche Salon to try to normal summon 1, but I'm going to play Champion's Vigilance because I control a level 7 or higher normal monster. I can just say no to that card. So Salon's going away. That does force them to end their turn. Now on my turn, I will draw. I get Gozen Match, which I don't believe is that. I'm not sure if that's useful against Madolche. I don't recall what their attributes are. But I'm going to play Megalo Smasher X, try to queue my Phantasm City, get its effect. They will Ash Blossom the Search. Kind of sucks, but not too big a deal. I will crash into the Hoot Cake, and I will attack directly for 2,000. Next, they're going to play Hoot Cake, try to use Hoot Cake to use Hoot Cake's effect, but I will play Phantasm Spiral Power, negating the effect, leaving Hoot Cake stranded on the field. They'll pass turn. I'm going to attack over it with Megalo Smasher, and then I'm going to attack directly for 2,000. Only 1,500 life points left. They're going to set a card. I'm going to play C Stealth Attack, which means when my token attacks over that, I am going to destroy it as such. So it doesn't even matter what its defense is, and I attack directly with Megalo Smasher X for game. And that's the deck in action. You just slow things down and beat them down with the normal monsters. Control the field with your trap cards. Pretty cool. So that's it for my Phantasm Spiral deck. One of my favorite decks of all time, and it's been very fun to play in Master Duel. It's such a cool thing that normal monsters get such support, and just because I'm such a fan of so many of them, and it's really fun that they're playable. And I really like the ability to make these indestructible, annoying trap floodgates, and the control element that comes with being able to generate advantage off of getting Phantasm Spiral trap cards and then use them to disrupt your opponent. It's very fun, very cool deck in Master Duel, and as far as Demise decks, is one of the least punishing to not go first because you know, things like Torrential Tribute and whatnot can be powerful on a second, going second if you play it right and your opponent doesn't have the most broken hand. So pretty cool stuff. Very glad to be playing it. Awesome to have. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know, do you like Phantasm Spiral? Do you like normal monsters? What's your favorite normal monster? And I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.